Back to Canberra now. The boosted JobSeeker payments on track to end in 2 months. The social services advocates are sounding the alarm. The $150 supplement takes the unemployment benefit to around $715 a fortnight. The ACOS CEO, Dr. Cassandra Goldie, has been in Canberra today making the case for a permanent rise to the payment. I asked her what reaction she's been getting from the government.
Well, look, from the Prime Minister yesterday, it was clear that they are yet to make a decision about the future of JobSeeker. Obviously, our view and those across from all the experts in this area have said it needs to be permanently increased at an adequate rate. We have consistently said it needs to be at least another $25 a day. So that would bring it to $65 a day. That would just keep people above the poverty rate. We're strongly opposed to this notion that somehow you can pick off different groups, or you might give more to some for a period of time and then drop it down. It's very clear from a workforce point of view, from a participation point of view, and from a people's lives point of view, we need a solid, consistent base rate of JobSeeker so that people know how much income they're going to have week to week as they try to get by and cover the very basics whilst they're trying to get a job.
Well, you're pointing to the Chamber of Commerce, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry made this proposal, a pre-budget submission, which says return to the pre-pandemic level, $40 a day for those who are short-term unemployed, those that have been unemployed for less than a year. Longer term unemployed, they want the current elevated rate to remain. And you're saying that's not tenable.
I don't know what world Aki lives in, because if you're saying to anybody that they can get by on $40 a day, when you're talking about covering 3 meals, your housing, the very basics, nobody should be expected to try and get by on that amount of money. And we had very broad consensus, as you know, from many of the other business groups, including the Business Council of Australia, saying that it needs to be permanently and adequately increased. So we don't agree with the Aki position, and I think it would build in some really big problems into this system.
The Treasurer points out, though, that the labour market has rebounded better than many thought it would at what, 6.6%, the last ABS number. That's encouraging. So less people are on JobSeeker than we thought there would be.
Pre the pandemic, we had about 750,000 people on JobSeeker. We've still got double that number. That is a lot of people who are affected by this issue, and I think parliamentarians need to understand that. There are so many people in their electorates who are affected by this. Where we are now, it's encouraging, isn't it, Kieran? It's a fragile recovery. Lockdowns are continuing. What we've got now is to understand that the cash that's been coming into people's hands on lower incomes, people on JobSeeker, people on JobKeeper, has, of course, the dollars that are being spent in the economy helping to bring jobs back. So that's a really good part of the story. It would be a big mistake to cut that completely out of the economy, and invest more in job creation, which is what we still need, clearly.
Sure.
And the areas like aged care, we welcome, but we need more on that. Other areas, the community services sector, and of course a big investment in social housing.
Cass Goldie, one of well, not one of, it's really the big public policy challenge is the rollout of the vaccine at the moment. From a community services point of view, from ACOS, what are you hearing in terms of the equitable nature or otherwise of the rollout? Is the government consulting on that?
Well, of course, our recovery is entirely dependent on our public health response. And so we have to stick with the clear evidence about what is needed. We need to have a rollout of this vaccine which is informed deeply by public health expertise. One part of that is, of course, you need to work closely with trusted people, with trusted community organisations, so that people are really well informed, they have good understanding of how the vaccine rollout is going to work, and that it is delivered equitably. And so we really are urging the government to work with us on that rollout, and particularly with the public health organisations.
And finally, the Prime Minister says you can't run the economy on taxpayers' money forever. He's obviously alluding to the JobKeeper supplements. Do you think that he's also, though, referring to the elevated JobSeeker? Is that a bad sign in terms of your campaign to see JobSeeker improve?
Well, I think one of the reasons that we've got people in the community with relatively high levels of support for government right now is because government has absolutely used taxpayer dollars well. and that has been informed by what's needed. And so overwhelmingly, the evidence base says we need to finally fix that base rate of JobSeeker, Kieran. It is the lifeline for you if you can't get a job. We know that we're going to have a challenge on our hands long term in terms of getting everybody back into employment.
Yep.
That isn't going to happen overnight. We need to fix that. So I think the public will welcome a Prime Minister who invests and invests well. We've got a debate about tax cuts. Well, what's happened with the tax cuts, of course, which also is about taxpayer dollars, is that is being saved, and so it actually hasn't in all the evidence clearly been what we really needed. We'd be much better off to invest now in fixing the social security arrangements and really focusing on people who are the most vulnerable in the Australian community.
ACOS Chief Cass Goldie, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kieran.